Start our record. All right, so here we are with our weekly Bhagavad Gita session. And as I was just saying, we're very fortunate we have Suvasini Didi with us, who's very familiar with Bhagavad Gita. I could say probably since your childhood, right? Been studying Bhagavad Gita. And she actually gives her own Bhagavad Gita classes with some of the sincere seekers in Ireland. Very familiar with the text. So, Suvasini, did you please share something with our group? Some Bhagavad Gita inspiration, or maybe a verse that one of your favorite verses.
Well, yeah, I think, you can express much more than I can do. I just know a few verses, of course, but not being able to, express so much. But I just read, we were, the last class, in our Tuesday Bhagavad Gita meetings, we just finished the chapter 7. And so the one thing this time when I read this verse, avyaktam vyaktim apannam manyante mama buddhayaha, that verse, let me find out that verse here. It was like, for me, it seems like so clearly expressed that, the personal conception of, the Lord. He very clearly said, avyaktam is unmanifest. Avyakti means it's manifest. It's like, so, and he said the only the unwise people think that, unmanifest has become manifest, right? Like that, right? That is avyaktam vyaktim apannam manyente mam abuddhayaha. The abuddhayaha means there's the people who are not very intelligent. It's
So are you referring to the idea that the original form of the Lord is formless, right? The most original expression of the Lord has no form, the Brahman. That's what you're referring to. But the Lord is
yeah,
saying, this
people.
is a foolish idea. My
This is
personal
also
form is the most original.
Yeah, it's a
Mhm.
foolish idea. He says very clearly, right, in this line. It's, when I read this time, when I read, it was like, so clearly it is expressed. It's only the unwise people think like that,
Mm.
like. So he said, param bhavam ajananto. It's like ajananto mamavyayam anuttamam. So param
Wait,
bhavam.
maybe I can bring up this verse here. What number verse is this?
This is the 7th chapter. It's number 24.
Number 24. Okay, let me do a screen share. I'm going to share my screen. Share. I don't need to. I will share sound because I'd like to also play Gurudev. So verse 24 of this 20 of the 7th chapter.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Avyaktam vyaktam apanam manyante mama buddhayaha padam bhavam ajananto mama vyayam anutamam. Unintelligent men who do not know me perfectly think that I, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, was impersonal before and have now assumed this personality. Due to their small knowledge, they do not know my higher nature, which is imperishable and supreme.
Yes. It's so clearly mentioned, right? This is personal form of the Lord is very explicitly here.
Yes, it's very nice that you pointed it out. It's very clearly stated here, right? The manifest, the personal, that is the most original, and everything is coming. The avyakta, right? Unrevealed, unmanifest, impersonal. The Brahman, that is secondary.
Yeah. So Yeah, this time when we read this, I thought, oh, this is very, very super clearly mentioned here.
Mm.
This verse is like, very, there are many other verses, of course, which, gives that, the personal nature, but this is like Krishna saying very clearly here. Yeah.
Mm. Yes, I remember I remember once our Gurudev Srila Govinda Maharaj, she was making this point that everywhere in Bhagavad Gita you see Krishna saying aham, 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 right? And aham means I, right? Like
Yes.
it's very clear there's a personality, a person, like, hello, I'm here. And yet there were so many interpretations which want to obscure that, write that off, and they have all kinds of convoluted translations. Like Krishna
Yeah.
says, like, mom, right, surrender unto me, and there's that one in particular which is very funny, surrender unto the unborn Krishna within yourself, like why does it have to be so complicated, right? And there's
Yes.
in the and we hear that description, right, in our scripture Chaitanya Charitamrita, when Lord Chaitanya Dev, he meets with the great scholar Sarvabhauma, right? And and for 7 days Lord Chaitanya Dev's humbly listening to Sarvabhauma's explanations on the Vedanta. And finally at the end, Lord Chaitanya Dev is completely silent the whole time. And finally, and Sarvabhauma was wondering, like, is this boy dumb or something? Like, he hasn't made any comment, hasn't asked any question. And then finally, he asks after 7 days, he asks Lord Chaitanya, oh, so, like, don't you have anything to say? Do you understand? And then Mahaprabhu's response is very amusing, right? He says, actually, I understand the verses very well. The verses are very clear. But your explanations, I could not understand. Your explanations are like clouds of logic that are obscuring the clear, direct meaning of the scripture, right? So this is the nature of the impersonal interpretation of the scripture. It is overcomplicating, right? Creating these clouds, obscuring the true, simple, direct meaning. So Krishna is saying aham, I. He's saying mam, me, right? So speaking about a person. Any other comments, Suvasini Didi? Anyone else want to share? We could have a kind of a different meeting today, interactive review, Bhagavad Gita appreciation. What about Marie? Anything you'd like to share about your reading of Bhagavad Gita?
Well, I was just going to agree. I can understand how people could come to the conclusion that God has a form that isn't necessarily like our form in any way. Like I can get that. I mean, the universal form clearly isn't, um, but it's never made sense to me that people think God doesn't have a personality.
Mm.
Like it's just always been like, I mean, I don't remember a time when I didn't feel like I could have a conversation with God. It's like, and you don't have a conversation with something that isn't someone,
Mm.
like it has to, well, I mean, like I talk to inanimate objects all the time, but I talk to them because like I feel like they're connected, like my whole environment is connected. That's just always been one of my things that makes me weird. um, I'm trying to remember what we talked about on Monday because in the little group that we have that meets Mondays, we had quite a conversation and I can't remember what it was about now. I may come back with something. Let me go look it up.
Okay, we'll look forward to that. Dulal Krishna Prabhu looks like he's ready to share something.
Dandavat pranams. No, I actually just got into a better hearing arrangement, so I can drop in a little more deeply. But I have my Gita, so I can help with reading and listening now.
Okay, nice, nice. Well, but do you want to share anything, your appreciation of Bhagavad Gita, any point at all?
Yes, yeah, of course. You know, I really resonated with what you had shared a meeting or two ago, talking about just reading it itself feels like this there's a bathing that takes place, you know, like a warm bath. And when I'm chanting the verses and just it kind of, you know, when I can drop in with that, it seems to yeah, I just appreciate its presence in my life. You know, I've read different versions of it and this, that, and the other, but it doesn't really. There's that transmission. I feel even behind the messages and the words that set the tone and replenish me and refocus me. And I've always appreciated that specifically about this text. And yeah, I just feel called to share that.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful, beautiful. Thanks for sharing, Dulal Prabhu. And what about Evan? Is he too busy right now? Caught up? Is he on the monkey bars? No,
Hi, Dee. Sorry to be
hello,
dropping in.
Evan.
Hopefully, I don't literally drop in on the call, but
Yeah, please don't drop.
it's so good to see you. I just wanted to take a moment to, I was overhearing the conversation and share an appreciation of mine of the Gita. And as you know, I'm still really new to the scripture, and I'm so honored to be reading it finally and processing it, listening to your talks and talking to Dulal. And one of the things that's coming to me is how very early on Krishna is very, I don't know, where the word fearless came to mind when thinking of how he's talking to Arjuna, because there's such this epic battle and all these ethical things that just come up from right off the jump. And I love how sort of embracing the battle and just the whole philosophical discourse that ensues just really speaks to me. So yeah, that's what came to me. It's just sort of a fearless, very truthful and loving and full beginning of an explanation, as I'm still early on in the chapters of the Gita, but loving it.
Beautiful, really nice reflection, Evan. Thanks for sharing that.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Gangalila, you've got your camera turned off, but if you're available, I'd love to hear some comments from you. You always have such insightful reflections. You're muted. You're muted. I'll unmute you.
I'm unmuted now. Sorry. I am usually taking myself away from duties outside this because I can only pay attention to one thing at a time. But I have to admit that I was trying to arrange something on a text, and while, you know, so usually I don't do that. So I wasn't really super attentive from what was shared. But what I have been noticing is over the last not only month, but probably longer, like since we're meeting here, I'm making that very important. I really try to show up. And usually I try to be fully attentive. But it's becoming a GPS, and I think that's also not an original of mine. I think you may have used that. Like it's a GPS.
What? Sorry?
It's a GPS. It's the Gita is helping me, like a GPS does, that I may have an idea of a general direction, and my old self would have just kind of thrown myself into like, and then I'll just be finding it, and then my old self would have been getting lost and hoping that, you know, some magic is going to just bring me to the place. And now I feel like I have a GPS in place. You know, I think everybody here is familiar with that, what that means, that there is something what's actually guiding me, and it's not personal, and they're not saying like, well, that's a wrong turn, or you should not be doing that. It is just saying like, and you make a right here and you go straight here. And I feel it has that kind of tone where where I can, you know, a GPS, I don't mistrust it. Sometimes they don't bring us to the right place, but in general, when you turn it on, it's not like, oh, well, let me think about that, you know. It's more, I'm really trying to put all that, the objection to the side, and clearly put that into my life as much as I can understand it. And that's, of course, limited to my capacity, but I'm going to roll with that. I think, did you use that the GPS idea? Where did I get that from?
Yeah, I mean, it comes. I'm not the only one. I'm sure others have used it. It's a very helpful analogy.
Yeah.
But yeah, very, very nice. That's very nice, Gangalila. And you know, and that's actually the whole idea, right? That we're not just hearing this, but this is becoming a means by which we will view our environment in a practical sense, right? And we hear this term from our gurus sometimes of Shastra Chakshu, means the eye of scripture. And we're trying to develop this eye, right? We're hearing the message of Bhagavad Gita and other holy scriptures, the words of our gurus, and we are developing a new eye, a new lens. Like we can put that, like put those glasses on, right? Like instead of just acting on the basis of our, you know, gut reactions or the basis of our, you know, mundane, you know, according to the reactions of our acquired mundane nature, our current samskara. Leaving that aside, we're going to put on the eye, the glasses of Bhagavad Gita, right? And what's their view on this? And let me try to apply that, right? That, like, it's meant to be a practical thing. So, you know, I'm reminded also of you know, the word sometimes the word darshan is used in the Vedas as a term for to refer to philosophy, right? It's a very interesting thing, right? The word darshan, we more commonly know it as referring to like seeing, right? And we refer to as like having the vision of the deity and being in the presence of the deity, like that. But it's also the same word is also used sometimes to refer to philosophy, right? Compare that with the English word philosophy, which comes from the Greek, love of knowledge, right? But in the Vedic world, like what's the idea being implied here? That knowledge is something that will help us to see our environment in a superior way, is helping us in a practical way to perceive things differently. And then according to that new vision, we will behave, we will act, we will respond in a higher way. You know, so that's the whole idea in these, you know, in these sessions and this hearing that we're sharing here, you know, that we're developing a new eye, you know, we're forming our GPS and we're seeing the environment from a higher standpoint. So very, very nice share from Gangalila. And Marie is ready to share further reflections.
Okay. What I had, hold on, I have to get to where I'm looking at it again. On Monday, we were reading at the beginning of chapter 6. And I sort of, I guess, have a theme here. Because it's talking about the yogis and the path of meditation. I think I don't know how it's described. Yeah, path of meditation. And I remember running into such an eminent yogi has the vision of equality toward a well-wisher, a friend, an enemy, an indifferent person, a mediator, a hateful person, a relative, a saint, and a sinner. And I remember thinking, well, I don't just want to see them all as equal. I want to see them all with love, you know? And so, you know, to which, of course, Govinda replies, well, that's why you're not a yogi. like that's why you're not just sitting there meditating. Which I guess is right. And then there was another one just before that, verse 7, says, no, not verse 7. Which one did I want to talk about? It's the one about being equipoised. Well, no, that one is about, okay. So the yogi who has conquered the mind remains deeply absorbed in yogic trance, peaceful and undisturbed by cold and heat, happiness and unhappiness, or honor and dishonor. And I reread that just now, and then I realized that I'd just been taking notes a while ago for my Chaitanya Charitamrita class tomorrow. And so we're in chapter 19 of Madhya Lila, and I just written down regarding text 149 that the first part of it says, because a devotee of Lord Krishna is desireless, he is peaceful. And I have written down that it might be more accurate to say, because a devotee of Lord Krishna desires only Lord Krishna, or because a devotee of Lord Krishna desires only the Lord's pleasure, he is peaceful. Because it doesn't seem like sitting there in a trance is really peace to me. Like, it just seems like it's nothing. So that I guess is where I'm working right now, is in that general vicinity, because it's coming up in multiple contexts.
Yeah, you brought up some nice points. And one thing we have to remember is that Bhagavad Gita, you know, in many ways, it's a beginner's book, beginner's guide to Krishna, right? It's giving teachings up to a certain level. And it's also very mixed. And many of the instructions are not in the line of devotion, actually. And many of the instructions are kind of, you know, more general yoga-based ideas about equanimity. And they, you know, it's kind of like you can add a plus Krishna to many of them, right? Like for example, like all the teachings of karma yoga, they're very helpful if you just add a plus Krishna, you know, for example, one of the principal verses describing karma yoga, the principle of selfless duty, karma nye vadikadaste ma phaleshu karachana ma karma full hetorbor ma te sangos or karmani. You recognize that verse? That verse, you know, it's saying, you know, that we have no right to the results of our actions, right? And you know, we only have right to our duty. We don't have any right to the results of our duty, nor do we have a right to give up our duty, right? So this whole idea of like selflessness is being promoted, right? But then we can like translate that in the bhakti world as not being detached from the mundane, but being attached to Krishna, right? And then all those teachings, they still work, but with like this extra edge, you know, with this plus to them. So yeah, actually you remind me of Sarvabhauma, right? No, Sarvabhauma, we were just mentioning him actually in the beginning, right? Sarvabhauma, he was originally, you know, this impersonalist, and then he became such a fanatic for bhakti that he wanted to change some verses in the Bhagavatam. And he didn't like, you know, there's this verse in Bhagavatam, like referring to mukti. And he's saying that, you know, one who embraces their karma and sees the mercy of the Lord in every situation, they will very soon achieve mukti, right? Samukti pade sadaya bhak. And Sarvabhauma, after his conversion, he became very upset at this verse, you know, then he telling Mahaprabhu, oh, we should change this, say bhakti instead of mukti. What is the use of this mukti, this liberation? This is a dry and empty thing. You know? So you've become like that now. But Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu calmed him down and said, don't worry, you know, from the highest connotation, mukti is a positive thing, right? Muktir hidvanya tarupam sarupena vivastiti. From the highest connotation, mukti means our positive life of devotion, right? In the eternal plane in connection with Krishna. So we're very happy to see how enthusiastic Marie has become for the path of bhakti, the teachings of bhakti. Tries to change some of the verses in our scriptures. Well, some very nice shares from our group. Anyone else? Dana, you want to share something? Always so quiet.
I always think about, I don't know if any of this is going to resonate or relate, but I was in a Gita group a little bit ago, like, I don't know, last year or so. And he shared a really cool book. And this is kind of how we studied the verses. I don't remember the name of the book or who wrote it, so I'm terrible, but where he creates acronyms for each chapter. Have you guys heard of that? Anyone?
I think I might have come across that, yes.
And it was so cool because the chapter we were on was chapter 7, and they had broken that down as the acronym of head, and then each letter stands for something. So H would be hearing, E is everywhere, A is accept or reject, D is demigods. And then it, like, I'm looking at my notes, it like breaks it down from like each letter. So like H, the hearing part, is like verses 1 through 3. And then the E, everywhere, is verses 4 through 12. A, accept or reject, verses 13 through 19. And D, demigods, verses 20 through 30. And I don't know. And then there's obviously a short like explanation of each one of those, but that's just like always stuck with me. And I think we did chapter 15 too, which I think that was home. And I remember it always being the like, remember, this place is not our home. Like, you know what I mean? But anyways, I thought it was really interesting. And that always kind of stayed with me, like just breaking it up like that, and to really having these different like little summaries that kind of like bring it all together.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that was helpful or a good share or not, but that's what always I think about every time, because that was one of my first Gita groups, and so I don't know, it resonates all the time, so I don't know. But chapter 7 is definitely one of my favorites, but and I hear it often, people reciting different verses from there and that, and so it's nice, like once you really study them and then you hear them like quoted in another class that has nothing to do with chapter 7. It's really nice to be like, oh my gosh, I know that, like, it's kind of cool. So sorry, I'm grateful for you guys. Thank you.
Why are you sorry? No sorry is allowed.
It was relevant, but it's something that always sticks with me. So
you sound like such a model student, Dana. Thanks for sharing that. And if you feel inspired, and it's possible, if you want to research into those acronyms, be cool to incorporate that. You could share that as we're going through each of the chapters.
Oh, sure. You can do that.
Yeah, that sounds cool. Thank you, Dana. Anyone else? Chintamani, are you available? Are you at work? Any Bhagavad Gita appreciation you want to share? We also have our 2 Turkish god sisters, Krishna and Jani, as I mentioned before, actually translated Bhagavad Gita into Turkish and produced an incredibly beautiful edition, which our Gurudev was so pleased with. I don't have a copy with me. I have a copy in Hungary. It's the most beautiful edition I've seen, probably. It's in Sanskrit, English, and Turkish, and done with beautiful artwork. And so, and she had specific appreciation from our Gurudev, for that edition, and for like she expressed, she received some higher blessings to be able to produce something like that. So I know she has a lot to say, but she is very shy, very humble at the same time. But Krishna and Johnny, anything you're inspired to share with our group today about your appreciation of Bhagavad Gita or experience in Bhagavad Gita?
Thank you, Ishaka. I'm very happy that you are here with us and giving us so much inspiration and encouragement. Thank you so much. I'm happy to hear from you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Krishna and Johnny, for being with us. She's a quiet, dignified presence in our group. I saw
Tiffany coming on.
Yeah, I saw her turn her camera on for a few seconds. Chintamani, anything you want to share?
Dhanavad, Vishaka Didi. No, I'm not at work. It's like my first day off in like, I don't even know how long. But yeah, I am just really grateful that I can tune into a Bhagavad Gita class. I'm remembering a song, a devotee, ISKCON devotee, a disciple of Srila Swami Maharaj Prabhupada, had written, and he goes like this, and I don't know the whole song, but the first song, I'm this, oh Bhagavad Gita, the song of God, oh Bhagavad Gita. So somehow when we hear Bhagavad Gita, I think of that song.
I think we're all going to remember that.
I'll send it in Bhakti Friends chat group.
Very nice. Sulalita Didi in Turkey, please share something with us.
Dhanavad. Something, remember Gurudev said, when I read Bhagavad Gita, still more light come to me. And I feel like that. I read years and years, and still I shocked that, I didn't see, I didn't heard before. I feel like that. More light come to me still with reading Bhagavad Gita. I just want to share that. Thank you.
Very nice, Lolita. Beautiful. Yes, Krishna consciousness is described sometimes as Nava Yovanam, ever fresh, ever new. And so if we are really contacting the living nature of this, then we will feel that. I'm reminded now, Madhusudana Maharaj, not too long ago, he told me something I never heard before. Of one occasion, someone asked Srila Sridhar Maharaj, like, how can we know that we're really, I can't remember the exact question, but along the lines, like, how can we know that we're really in connection with the real current of Krishna consciousness? And Srila Sridhar Maharaj answered like this, that we may be doing the same thing many times over and over again, hearing the same thing over and over again, but there will always be something fresh there, some fresh angle, some fresh inspiration, some fresh feeling. And he mentioned as one specific example, the verse, Sarva Dharmam Prityaja, one of the most famous verses in Bhagavad Gita, right? Chapter 18. And in Srila Sridhar Maharaj saying, how many times will we quote this verse? It will be so many times, and try to explain that to others. But each time there will be some fresh feeling, some fresh revelation will come to us. And then we can feel confidence that, I'm in touch with the living current, something, the real thing, we're not just approaching from an empiric angle. We're not just contacting, the dry philosophical side, like some academic study, but we're actually connecting with the real spiritual current. So that is the proof, as Sulalita is very nicely sharing, you know, some new light will come. Well, maybe I'll share one of my favorite verses. Chapter 9. Still have a few minutes. This is kind of nice to have a review like this. I'm going to share my screen. This I think it's chapter 9 here. Oh, this is very nice. Here it is. This is a very reassuring verse, you know, for those who are trying to approach Krishna wholeheartedly. You know, ananyas chintayanto mam ye jana. This is chapter 9, verse 22. Ananyas chintayanto mam ye jana paripasate tesham nityabhiyuktanam yogakshemam baham yaham. Those who always worship me with exclusive devotion, meditating on my transcendental form, to them I carry what they lack and I preserve what they have. So this is the Lord's promise that I will, if you approach me, giving your heart to me, I will take care of everything. I will take care of everything for you. And in the one of the previous verses, let me find it. There's where is it? Samoham sarvabhuteshu. Where's that verse? Where's that verse? Samoham. I thought it was here. Or maybe it's in a later verse. But there's a verse where Krishna is saying that I am equal to everyone, right? He's saying I don't play favorites. But to those who approach me with love, then I reciprocate with them. Yanti Deva Vrata. This is another well-known verse. These are all quite well-known verses. Here it is. This is the other verse, right? Samoham sarvabhuteshu namedveshu. This verse is very special. I mentioned this the other day. Last week we went through chapter 12, right? And so this is in chapter 9. So chapter 9 and chapter 12, they're the two only chapters in Bhagavad Gita that are dealing exclusively with bhakti, with devotion. Everything else is mixed, right? So you'll find the greatest concentration of verse. So Marie will be happy with this chapter. No dilution here. So yeah, so this is the verse I was saying, the other verse. Samoham sarvabhuteshu namedvesho sinapriyaha ye bhajanti tumam bhaktya mayi teteshu chapyaham. I envy no one, nor am I partial to anyone. I am equal to all. But whoever renders service unto me in devotion is a friend, is in me, and I am also a friend to him.
What verse is that?
29. This is chapter 9, verse 29. So I am equal to Sarva Bhuteshu, all living beings. I am Samoham. This word Samo, this is we can understand the word, English word same. It's coming from the Sanskrit word. You know? I am the same to everything. I'm equal to everyone. I have no friends. I have no enemies. I'm not for anyone, Priya, nor am I against anyone, Dvesha. I'm equal to everyone. However, if someone's coming to me with love, then I'm helpless before them. I cannot but reciprocate with that. And then to such a person, I will personally take care of them. I will personally care for their needs. And then this is quite a radical verse here. This is a tricky verse, this following one. Api chet dura chado bhajate mama nanya bak sadar eva samantavya samyag vyavasito he saw. That even if someone, according to worldly standards, is a sinful, abominable person, if their hearts are given to me on the deepest level, if their intention, right, if their resolve is to serve me, to love me, then they should be considered a sadhu. This is a very, very difficult point, this one. Right? But this is the power of devotion, right? For one who is connecting with the central flow, the universal flow, then what faults they may have within the relative plane, that should be overlooked. They should be considered to be a sadhu. Very radical statement. Radical statement. And then this verse is a very beautiful verse here. Manmana bhava madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mame vaishasi yuktvaivam atmana matparayanaha. And these first two lines, they're actually repeated twice in Bhagavad Gita. This manmana bhava madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. This is twice in Bhagavad Gita. The second line is different. So it's twice here. But here in this line, Krishna is very shamelessly canvassing for himself. He's saying, always think of me, right? This, be my mad bhakto, be my devotee. Think of me, be my devotee. Madhyaji, worship me. Mam namaskuru, offer your namaskar, right? Offer your obeisance, your respect to me. And surely you will come to me. So how Srila Sridhar Maharaj discusses this verse, and I believe it's Sri Krishna, and he's saying how shamelessly Krishna is pleading for his own cause. He's saying, love me, serve me, worship me, bow to me. How can he say such a thing? But only because it is for our benefits, right? It is for our own well-being, for our own fulfillment. That is how we will be truly fulfilled. There's this phrase of our Gurudev, Srila Govinda Maharaj, in Revealed Truth. He says, it's an interesting line, kind of curious line. He says, Krishna is very near and dear to us as the enjoyer of the universe. And it's like he's expressing this idea that, like, when we embrace that, I just stopped this screen share, but wait, let me go back to the screen share, because there's another verse there too, which is relevant to this. When we embrace Krishna's position as the enjoyer, right, and we are to supply to him, then we will be very close, right? Because we are embracing our natural relationship with the Lord and our constitutional nature, right? This line, Srila Sridhar Maharaj, you hear, he quotes this quite a lot, this line. Aham hi sarva yagyanam bhokta cha prabhu eva cha. Right? I am this bhokta, is referring to like the enjoyer. Right? Bhoga, the word bhoga is the word that we use for food that is being offered. We often will just, our devotees will use the word prasad for what's being offered, but prasad is what comes after the offering. Before it's offered, it's called bhoga. And bhoga literally means something like what is to be enjoyed. So this word bhokta, it's the same root. And so he's the enjoyer, right? This is verse 24 of chapter 9. So aham hi sarva yagyanam. This is a very like kind of grand statement. Sarva, like all yagya, all sacrifice is meant to be for me. This word yagya, it's an interesting word, right? When we say yagya, we normally think of like a ritual fire sacrifice, right? But actually the word yagya means sacrifice in a more general sense. And there's one statement in the scriptures, we heard our Gurudev, Srila Govinda Maharaj, quote it a couple of times, Yagyo Vai Vishnu. And the meaning of this line is Yagya means Vishnu. Which, if we expand that, means, our Gurudev explains, Yagya means some sacrifice that is performed for the satisfaction of Vishnu. Right? This is actually what Yagya means, right? And then we also hear Sankirtan Yagya, right? The Sankirtan, our offering of Sankirtan, offering of Kirtan, chanting. This is an offering. This is meant to be a sacrifice for the Lord, for the satisfaction of the Lord. So here, Krishna says, Aham Hisar, like I am the true recipient of all types of sacrifice. It's all for me, for my sake. Bhokta, I am the enjoyer of everything. And then Chak Prabhu, I'm the Prabhu, I'm the master, I'm the Lord of everything. So it's quite a bold, strong statement, right? So our Gurudev was making this point. When we embrace that the Lord is the enjoyer, right? And we are to supply that. When we embrace that natural relationship, we will be very close to the Lord. Right? But if we are in that confused state of, self-asserting ego, right? Asserting our own ego, then we are very far from the Lord. Madhya Parvata Rasaya. Then it is as if Ahankara Vimuktanam Keshavo Nahi Doraga Ahankara Yutanam Hi Madhya Parvata Rasaya. This beautiful verse in the scripture that when we are living with the Ahankar, with the false ego, the false conception, egoistic conception of self, then it is as if there is a great mountain range between ourselves and the Lord. But if we are free from that, vimukta, we are free, we are mukta, we are liberated from the ahankar, from the false ego, then Keshavo Nahi Durga means the Lord Keshava Krishna, he's not far away. He is very close to us. And what is very peculiar and inconceivable is that when we embrace that position, then he will also become submissive to his devotee. This is the very curious thing, right? When we embrace our position as a servant, no, let's be bold and say a slave of the Lord, and he will also become the slave of his devotee. What is that verse? Asvya Tantra Eva Dvija. Yasva Tantra Eva Dvija. What's the first line, Subhasini Didi? The verse?
Sadhibir Shastahridayo.
No, yeah, that's in there too, but what's the first line?
First line too.
Yeah. How does it go? Do you have that Prakana Jivanam? It's in there. Okay, I'll get it out. Aham Bhakta Pradino.
Yeah, Aham Bhakta Pradino. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Aham Bhakta Pradino Hyasvatantra Eva Dvija Sarubir Grasta Hridayo Bhakter Bhakta Janapriya. That's it. Yeah. Krishna is saying that it is as if I have no independence. But I am bound by the love. My heart has been captured by the love of my devotee. So I have no, but it's carefully phrased, Eva, like as if I have no, he has full independence, but because of the power of the love of his devotees, that's the position that he takes. That's the posture that he takes, not out of necessity, but out of love. So it is as if I have no independence, right? This is a very wonderful, peculiar thing, right? So if persons feel fearful about this idea, right, that, you know, we will be controlled, we will be a slave, you know, we can also remember there's another side to it, right? You know, in the same way that a small child, right, they can control their parents through the power of love. This is the very peculiar nature of love, that high and low, have no meaning in a relationship of love. Love eclipses everything, right? There's no superior or inferior in the realm of love, right? It is just, you know, we're on the same footing, right? So this is the secret. This is the secret. How to capture the infinite. How to hold the infinite in the palm of one's hand, right? There's that verse of it's Baladev Vijayabhushan, right? And he compares Govinda, the Lord, to a jewel, right, in the hands of Rup and Sanatan. And like he's in their hands, right? And they're both shining the light of that jewel and showing different facets of that jewel, sharing that light with the world, showing different angles of vision, of appreciation. Ratna Hastadivat, right? He's like in the palm of their hand, a jewel in the palm of their hand. This is the power of devotion. Govindabidam. Well, very nice. We took a breather from our reading to share our reflections. I'm happy we could do that today. Suvasini, any last words with our group today?
No, it is beautiful to hear from everyone, yourself and everyone. It's very nice, actually. Yeah, nice to be here today.
I think Gangalila said she had a question.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, there was something in the chat.
Okay.
I have a question. Is it true that the Bhagavad Gita is originally sung? So it's and if it's sung, are you supposed to sing it in one piece? And the other part is, what's the melody? Or is that too big of a question? Because we are already at 11. I mean, at the full hour.
I mean, there aren't. I mean, I like to get away from shoulds and shouldn'ts. First of all,
that.
I mean, I'm sure, you know, every tradition will have something different to say, but I can say in the way we've been trained by our gurus, we're primarily trying to become acquainted with the substance of the text. And sometimes, you know, we are discouraged, you know, from too much of this ornamental style, you know, of singing, this type of approach. We have a recording of our Gurudev chanting. We played something of that last week, and he's not exactly singing, it's more he's reciting, right? So I would say in this case, it's you know, like sometimes like you know, in all the recordings of Srila Sridhar Maharaj I've heard, you know, when he's reciting, when he's citing a verse, 90% of the time he's just reciting it. But I've heard on very few occasions he'll actually sing them. And it's very beautiful. You know, it's very beautiful. If I hear a few running in my head, like very beautiful to hear him sing. There's one Bhagavad Gita verse too I've heard him sung. But for the most part, he's giving the teaching. We're focusing on the substance, right? And that's the style I've seen from Srila Govinda Maharaj, Srila Sridhar Maharaj, and I feel very strongly is the mood of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur also. We're trying to become, I've seen like in some Hindu traditions, there is a tradition of this very kind of ornamental style of chanting verses, and actually that can become a bit of a distraction, right? So I would say it's not so important, but if one feels inspired to do that, then that's fine too. But yeah, ultimately no should or shouldn't, I would say, in this area. Those are my thoughts.
That's good, very good. Thank you, Vishaka. Vishaka.
I love the Indian head nod you have going on. She's good at it. Jai Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. All the assembled devotees, sincere seekers ki Jai. Ki Hari Nam Sankirtan ki Jai. Jai Gaur Premanande.
Vivo!
See you all next time. Jai Gurudev.